It's Ricky Rich with Black Primacy with a quick question. Have you downloaded the Black Primacy app yet? If you haven't, don't worry about it. I just wanted to remind you that it is the number one way to find black owned businesses near you. Whether you're looking for food, fashion, or services, we've got you covered on this app. So download it now and start supporting black owned businesses in your area today. All right? Link in the description.
The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. Tonight we share one man's story. We take you on his journey from the pulpit to a jail cell after he attempted to take his own life. But he wanted to tell his story because he has a message. Now be patient with us. It will take time to get there, but first we need to go through the darkness. So, Jonathan, we're here in your garden, saxophone right there by your side. Do you find peace and tranquility here?
Absolutely. Being here is very therapeutic for me, and it keeps me grounded. It keeps me grounded. So I'm out here just about every day. If I'm not doing something in the garden, I'm usually practicing on my saxophone, but most of the time it's something that helps me stay focused in life.
Jonathan Russell is a man who's at peace now, but it took a long, dark journey before he arrived at that tranquility.
I fought for it. It was something that I struggled with for a long time. I didn't know exactly what to do, what strings to pull, anybody to talk to, and it was a battle for me. And I kid you not, mentally, I lost a lot of battles, and I didn't even think I was going to make it some days, you know. Problem with it was that I just couldn't find enough safe spaces to really tap into to help me with what I was struggling with then.
Jonathan was a man who appeared to have it all: husband, father, devoted son, and even a pastor. But there was still a darkness that consumed him, a darkness that nearly destroyed his life, literally.
I tell you, the thing that took place that really caused me to be in that position was losing both of my parents, you know. And as a family, we never experienced death. We never experienced death in our family until my mother and father passed. And we didn't know how to handle that. I found myself, man, drinking, getting into the heavy drugs and drinking, and it went from one thing to another. And I can't tell you how I got there. Even with having the morals and the values that I had, it was like overnight. And it was like something just pulled me quickly down from the place that I was at. And it's like, I didn't know how to handle it. So, yeah, drugs, the alcohol.
Now, was all of that going on while you were also in the pulpit?
Some of it, yes, yeah. And as a matter of fact, the heavy drinking started while I was in the pulpit. Matter of fact, every Saturday, I would prepare my message for Sunday, and I would literally fall into a state of deep depression. And to try to at least give myself some type of leverage, some type of ground, I would every now and then drink a little here and there. And, but, you know, it just seemed like, you know, it only helped for just a little while. And it would only happen on a Saturday. I just remember that it would only happen on a Saturday. I would stay up late at night and try to prepare it. But man, when it comes Sunday morning, it was a different story. And it was crazy because everything that I preached, I didn't believe. And it was just the craziest transition that I was going through. Every message that I preached during the time I started pastoring, I didn't believe any of it.
Jonathan was experiencing depression while also suffering from a spiritual crisis as a pastor. Besides the death of his parents from dementia and aging, he says he could not find a good job. And to top it all, his wife of many years, the mother of his children, was leaving him.
It was ending after 30 years. I stayed in that house for several weeks by myself. In fact, you know, I was weighing about 182 pounds then. It got so bad I got down to 150.
Jonathan says he was struggling to survive financially while his life was also falling apart. He said on Sundays he was preaching a positive message, all while being consumed in darkness, until he decided it was that time.
I got into Lake Jackson, and I went to the academy there, and I purchased a gun. They did a background check, all of that. I purchased a gun, actually a 380, and I walked out of that store with it, and the whole time I was in that truck, I was contemplating, I need somebody to talk me out of this. But I didn't know anybody at the time. But then, the only person that I knew when I was sitting in that truck was a woman that I had a lot of respect for. And I will only mention her last name. Her name was, I drove to Sweeney, Texas. And when I got there to her home, nobody was there. And I waited at least about 10 or 15 minutes to maybe see if maybe she would come, you know, in and out or something like that. Because I knew that if I talked to her, if I just had a moment to talk to her, I knew that maybe she could have helped me through. You know, she could have helped me change my mind about what I was thinking about doing. Right. And she wasn't there, so I left and drove back down Highway 288. And 288 was probably about the darkest place that I'd ever been, driving down that highway. It just seemed like something got dark. It just got dark. I made it to my house eventually. When I went inside my house, I remember running my tub full of water. To this day, I can't understand why I ran my tub full of water, but I ran the tub full of water, took off all my clothes. I started drinking. I started popping all of the over-the-counter drugs that I had, and I started feeling weird. All I can remember is I started feeling weird. Afterwards, I made a phone call to a male friend of mine. I have no idea what I said, but whatever I said, it caused him to, you know, sound. I can hear him screaming and hollering on the other end, but I couldn't make out what he was saying. Afterwards, I remember while I was in the home, I got the 380, and I loaded it with bullets. I started shooting up the house. And as I was shooting up the house, I was screaming at the top of my voice, I helped everybody you wanted me to help. I did everything you wanted me to do. I've done the best. I've been the best at ministering. I've been the best at preaching. I've helped other pastors build their churches. But yet, my life has to come to this point, and you can't do nothing for me. You can't save my life. And I'm saying all of this while I'm shooting up the house. And then I remember the gun was out of bullets. I went in my garage, I grabbed a gas can, and I poured it all over my house. from bedroom to bedroom. I lit the house, I lit the gas, the house went up in flames. And the whole time, I continued shooting. I sat against the wall because there was so much smoke in the house. It was at the top, so I was at the bottom. I fell to the floor. I sat up against the wall, put the gun to my head, and while the gun was to my head, I was choking. I had taken in so much soot and smoke into my mouth, and I pulled the trigger. And when I did, it snapped, and it scared me. I mean, it scared the living daylights out of me because I knew I was gone. I fell to the floor. I didn't know where I was in my home, and I was trying to get out. So I was feeling my way through the smoke. I felt the heat, the flames, I felt it all. And somewhere between my living room and the garage, I felt unconscious. And I went blank from that point. Before I knew it, I was being pulled out of my home. They found my body somewhere between the doorway and the front room, somewhere along there, and they pulled my body out. I went from burning house to the back of an ambulance, and they're trying to bring me back. I can feel them, I can hear people in the background, and they managed to bring me back.
Paramedics saved him, but Jonathan says police officers were charging him. Remember that wild shooting spree in his home he told you about? Well, that came with consequences.
He said, well, we're gonna have to arrest you. I said, for what? He said, well, we're gonna have to arrest you for assault on a peace officer. I said, assault on a peace officer? He said, yeah, you were shooting at us. And I said, no, sir, I wasn't shooting at any officers. I wasn't shooting at anybody. And so as I was lying there in the back of an ambulance, they were getting ready to close the door. And eventually, I went from the ambulance to the hospital where they did a check on me. And I went from the hospital to Fort Bend County Jail, where I was locked up for probably maybe a good 4 months or so. Not 4 months, but 4 weeks. I was locked up for about 4 weeks.
Jonathan, after being sentenced to probation on his first ever offense, he was forever changed after that attempt on his life. The longtime pastor found himself angry at the very institution he had become a part of. In fact, he considers the church a culprit in his mental demise, a cancer, if you will, on society in general.
What happened in the church that made you lose faith?
Harmful theology. Every harmful theology and gaslighting. Every Sunday I went to church, even before I pastored, I always used to hear pastors just criticize members, using the word of God, criticizing. And I was smart enough to know what that looked like and what it sounded like. You could hear pastors that were preaching messages and they were in their own personal feelings, or was it something that based on their personal conviction? And you knew that's what it was. If you were smart enough, if you can listen to the content of their message, you could tell that what they're saying is not about Jesus Christ. It's about their relationship with you. But somehow they mingled it to make it seem as if though it's about your relationship with God. But they never taught it that way. And so I caught a lot of that being a minister, being a pastor, and knowing how to study the Word of God and knowing the content and the context in which they were coming from. I knew what they were doing. And it wasn't right. And I can tell that it was hurting a lot of members, including myself. But the bad part about it is that at one point I thought it was right. I thought it was okay to preach just like that. hellfire, brimstone. You're going to hell for this. You're going to hell for that. If you don't pay your tithes, you know, you're not going to be blessed. You're not going to be financially secure and all of that. And so when you hear things like that, and you got an economy that's spiraling, you know, it doesn't help. It doesn't help much at all. So you have a lot of pastors, and they don't realize it, that they are responsible for a lot of divorces. They're responsible for a lot of people that are being in the shape that they are in mentally and emotionally because of the content of their messages.
Jonathan never looked back, and he never returned to the church.
I could never go back to religion. Understanding what it is, I can never go back to it. I can never go back to it.
Instead, he says he found his peace in farming the land around his home, and most importantly, the music, that saxophone that he loves so much.
I have to say, one of the things that I did on a consistent basis once I was released, I would always make an appearance at Feeling Derrick's because I wanted to hear good music, good jazz music. And so every Friday night, I would go and listen to the Kyle Turner play. And I would sit in the audience just to listen. That's all I did. I just wanted to, because that was the only safe space for me. And that was the only thing that I knew that could keep me grounded. So I listened every Friday night. I listened to Kyle Turner, listen to Kyle Turner, listen to Kyle Turner. And one day, I'll never forget, I said I wanted to play my sax again because I gave it up 30 years ago. I gave it up, stopped playing it, and I said I wanted to play my sax again.
Jonathan says the musician Kyle Turner mentored him and helped put him on the road to recovery, a road to peace. And now the once pastor who finds time to grow a crop at his home is hoping to help others by sharing his incredible journey from despair to renewal. He says even if it doesn't involve the church, however, he makes it clear he hasn't given up on God.
I did this for the purpose, and I thought about it for a long time now. I did this for the purpose of making sure that a lot of our black men that are out there understand that, hey, there is a safe space that you can go to. If that safe space has to do with places that most of us are unfamiliar with, go there. If your church is the mall, go there. If your church is the beach, go there. If your church is a bar, go there. If it's going to bring you peace, serenity, where you won't be under the influence of gaslighting and people judging you, prejudging you, go there. Because I'm telling you, right now, there's something different has to be done in our churches in order for men to start healing. Black men start healing.
As you can see, Jonathan is clearly on a new path surrounded by his family. Now, if you're a person out there suffering from depression, make sure you reach out and get some help. Call 988. It's a hotline designed for people who are on the edge. 988.
All right, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please check out the other content that we have on this channel. But before you go, I wanted to remind you again not to forget to check out the Black Primacy app. It is the best way to connect with Black-owned businesses near you. They need your support. We need your support. Link in the description.